Chapter 3. The Lost Brother. Famished, exhausted, dying. The monkey ventured in the southern direction could think of nothing else except these three words. It had been close to a month and they had earned no clue of Sita's whereabouts. They weren't even sure if she lived at all. Some of the monkeys, frustrated with hunger, began to question the purpose of the project. Why are we wasting our time searching for one woman? Is she so precious that so many of us have to sacrifice our lives for her sake? These were the common discussions that took place in the lower ranks. The leaders hadn't yet given up. The mission would die a premature death the day their leaders gave up. Exactly when the monkey entourage was on the verge of losing some of its men, Jambavan saw a bird flying out of a cave. How was that possible? He shook his head and rubbed his eyes to carefully look again. Yes, it was true. The surprise was that not only was it an aquatic bird, but that it was wet, dripping wet. There had to be a source of water within the cave. The difference between living and dying was one word: water. And here it was. A new wave of enthusiasm engulfed the search party and they ran joyously towards the cave, shouting and hooting. At the entrance, they realized it was much bigger than regular caves. The entire troop entered. Soon, they found their source of water. Just when they were about to dive, they spotted a woman sitting on its bank. She looked grave and was dressed like an exalted ascetic. Sensing their presence through her yogic trance, she opened her eyes. As soon as she opened her eyes, a golden table appeared in front of them. The table was filled with the most palatable delicacies the monkeys had ever seen. There were innumerable varieties of dishes and celestial beverages. With her hands, the ascetic lady who introduced herself as Svayamprabha, signaled them to commence the feast. Wholeheartedly, the monkeys devoured the meal. They ate more than they could handle. Each monkey was filled to the brim with happiness. Suddenly, everything vanished. They found themselves lying on the sands next to the ocean shore. Where were they? How did they reach here? What had happened to the food? Who was that lady? None of them had a clue as to what was happening with them. They had lost all sense of direction. There wasn't anyone in the vicinity to ask for help. Again, a dead end. Days passed and no one was able to decipher anything. The effect of the meal they'd had at the cave was now wearing off. They were hungry and thirsty again. This time, no wet bird and no cave with delicious food was at their disposal. They were losing all hope. The monkeys began praying earnestly for some help or some intervention. Angad spoke. What is the point in living anymore? A few days left before the month gets over. Sadly, we still haven't been able to find Mother Sita. How can we go back with no information? It's better to die than to return empty-handed. All of them gazed skywards. There was an old, giant vulture hovering above them. Clearly, it was a sign of their imminent death. The vulture was waiting for its first victim. The first victim would be its food. Looking at Hanuman, Angad said, "Doesn't this vulture look like Jatayu, who heroically sacrificed his life trying to save Mother Sita from Ravana's clutches?" Jatayu was fortunate to have been cremated by Lord Rama himself. I don't think Lord Rama will ever find our bodies after this vulture unleashes its terror on us. As soon as Angad spoke those words, the monkeys began to run away. Angad couldn't understand why his army was going helter-skelter. He looked up and saw that the giant vulture, which had been hovering way above them, was now fast rushing towards him. Even before Angad could react, the vulture landed right next to him, hurling a sandstorm in his direction, with the fluttering of its wings. Once he settled down, Angad could see a look of concern in the bird's eyes, without any vicious intent. "Do you know Jatayu? He was my younger brother. Years ago, we got separated due to a mishap and we never met again. My name is Sampati. I am saddened to learn of Jatayu's death. I saw that evil Ravana, the killer of my brother, carrying Mother Sita away to Lanka, which is located 100 yojana. 1 yojana is equivalent to 8 miles from here, across the ocean. In fact, with my powerful vision, I can see Mother Sita in Lanka right now. When I got separated from my brother, my wings had been charred and I couldn't fly long distances. At that time, a sage told me that the day I tell a group of monkeys the whereabouts of Mother Sita, my wings will grow back." Mourning the loss of his brother and encouraging the monkey army to not give up and instead try reaching Lanka, Sampati flew away. He gave them a solution, but his solution led them to a greater problem. Who will cross embracing negativity is equivalent to embracing failure. Mining diamonds is the art of spotting the positivity in a deeply negative environment. The making of a superhero. The question was not whether they wanted to do it. The question was whether they could. Faced with a newfound problem, the monkeys began to offer their bid. It was definitely a gamble. The gamble of life. All the monkeys in the army were sincerely trying to showcase their strength and present their best skills in this match. Everyone comes to gamble with good intentions, but the winning question is not whether you have the right intention, but whether your ability and action support your intention. One monkey said that he could jump 1 yojana. Another said he could jump 2 yojana. Yet another quipped that he could easily cover 12 yojana. An even more adventurous one declared 65 yojana. Finally, Angad, the son of the powerful hero Bali, said he could cover the entire stretch of 100 yojana himself. His grand claim led to a buzz of excitement in the army. There was a brave warrior in the army who was confident about his abilities. However, the excitement died as soon as he uttered, "But what now?" Angad continued, "The problem is though I can cover 100 yojana in one go and reach Lanka, I surely wouldn't have the strength to return." Jambavan, their leader, who wasn't a monkey like the rest but a bear, spoke up. "In my younger days, I had so much energy that I could cover the universe several times over. In fact, when Vamanadav appeared and extended his leg to cover the whole universe, I used that opportunity to circumambulate, thus actually orbiting the entire universe 21 times. But I am old now and don't have the same strength and energy. I don't think I would be able to cross this 100 yojana ocean." Time does humble everyone. Silence prevailed. Each one of them had put forth their concern, but still, they couldn't arrive at a sensible conclusion. Dejected, they all lowered their heads in shame and started brooding over their inabilities. The leader in Jambavan rose to the occasion. He realized that each one of them was only thinking from their point of view and none of them were analyzing the strength of the others. Jambavan began analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of each monkey in all the sections. By now, he knew his team well. As he continued his examination, he came across one monkey who had not spoken at all. He was lost in his thoughts. Suddenly, he realized this monkey could accomplish this incredible task. The silent monkey was Hanuman. Jambavan sat next to Hanuman and reminded him of what he had forgotten. He gently reminded him of all the powers that the demigods had bestowed on him when he was a child. He reminded him of his superhuman abilities. He reminded him of his greatness. He reminded him that when great powers are bestowed on someone, it means greater responsibility rests on him. Power and responsibility go hand in hand. Now that he was standing on the shores of responsibility, his powers were bound to return. As Jambavan spoke, Hanuman began recollecting his lost and forgotten powers. There was a rise in his confidence level. Soon, he began to grow in size. Within moments, Hanuman was a few hundred feet tall. The other monkeys looked up in amazement at the sudden transformation of their friend. Hanuman roared. The intensity was such that the trees quaked and birds fluttered in all directions. The monkey god began running towards Mount Mahendra, covering the distance in a few strides. Climbing the mountain in easy steps, he reached the peak in a flash. Standing right at its summit, he yelled, "Victory to Lord Rama! Jai Shri Rama! There is nothing that I can't do. Nothing can stop me from achieving success in my Lord's mission." He prepared for the big leap. Gathering all his energy in his feet, he put immense pressure on the mountain on which he stood. The mountain was squashed under his weight and streams of gold, silver and many minerals began to flow out in different directions. Sages began running out of the caves from the mountain and animals began to move away from the pressure points and move closer to Hanuman's feet. Abruptly, Hanuman jumped and took off from the mountain. The power of his jump created a suction force that dragged everything in the vicinity of his feet skywards. Elephants, lions, deer, rabbits, birds, plants and trees started trailing Hanuman. They flew along for a little distance till the suction lasted and then fell back on the mountain. It appeared as if Hanuman was their guest and they had gone along with him to see him off as he proceeded on his journey to Lanka. Jumping off the mountain was one thing and reaching Lanka was quite another. Reaching Lanka was not a matter of jumping across the ocean. On the 100 yojana stretch, there were some explosives that were strategically placed to make the journey eventful. The achievement of making an achiever is far greater than the achievement of becoming an achiever, encouraging Jambavans create achieving Hanumans. For the world, the achiever is the hero. For the achiever, the one who made him an achiever is the hero. Hanuman can fly. A monkey's ambitious flight was an incredible sight for all. A host of demigods joyfully observed the determined Hanuman flying across the ocean. Some of them felt they should help him while others wanted to test him. The two parties left in different directions. A little ahead, Hanuman could see something glittering in the ocean. However, due to the distance, it was difficult to make out what it was. As he edged closer, the unidentified object seemed to grow rapidly in size. Soon, Hanuman saw a golden mountain rising from inside the ocean. The colossal golden mountain almost touched the skies and blocked Hanuman's path. He couldn't see a thing beyond the massive mountain. Hovering, he inspected the freshly arisen mountain. Scenic lakes, succulent fruit-bearing trees, healing herbs, beautiful gardens, comfortable seating arrangements, birds and animals meandered around. The mountain looked like paradise. Right at the center of the mountain, almost at par with Hanuman's height, appeared a brilliantly effulgent personality who stood with folded hands, looking intently towards him. He spoke in a voice that had the power of thunder and, yet, the sweetness of a flowing river. "My dear hero, I am here on the orders of the great demigods who are impressed with your prowess and determination to serve Lord Rama. I am Mount Menaka. Long back, Indra, the king of the heavens, went on a rampage destroying the mountains of the world. During that era, all the mountains had wings. We could freely fly from one place to another. Unfortunately, a few proud mountains took advantage of this faculty and landed themselves on human civilizations, causing mass destruction. That's when Indra decided to clip the wings of all mountains, making them immobile. When I saw Indra coming after me with thunderbolt in his hands, I panicked and began to shiver. The demigod in charge of the oceans, Varuna, showered his kindness upon me and blew me far away from Indra's tyranny. He arranged for my safety within the depths of his vast oceans. Today, on seeing your heroic efforts, Varuna has asked me to receive you on my mountains and be hospitable to you so that you feel rejuvenated before proceeding on your challenging journey. I personally feel that by serving you, I will get a chance to reciprocate the kindness Varuna had bestowed upon me ages ago. Kindly come and purify my mountains by your saintly visit." Hanuman smiled at the tempting request. Thanking him, he said, "The word, rest, does not feature in my dictionary when I am on a mission. Though, I must confess it's an irresistible offer. Unfortunately, I can't wait for a second longer. I cannot think of my own comforts till the mission is complete. The only concern that governs my thoughts is Lord Rama's well-being. Perhaps, on my return, once my mission is accomplished, I may consider your invitation. For now, I must move on." Not to appear insensitive and rude, Hanuman touched the mountain with his hands accepting his service and flew away. Mount Menaka was rendered speechless at Hanuman's dedication. Comfort is a highway robber that loots us of our achievements. As Hanuman continued flying way above the ocean, he admired the serene waters. Suddenly, a little further ahead, he could see the ocean develop suction current. Something inside the water was creating it. The next instant, a fountain of water was thrown skywards and the ocean surface became agitated. Hanuman slowed down to determine the cause of the disturbance. With a huge splash, from within the waters emerged a gigantic demoness who had the face of a human but the trunk of a python. This was Sarasa, the mother of the Nagas, in her most terrifying form. She spoke, hissing like a snake, "HSSS's. No one can bypass me. I have Brahma's boon that anyone who passes over me will become my natural food and enter my belly. Today, you are my meal. No one can stop that now." Sarasa opened her mouth wide enough to devour Hanuman in one gulp. As soon as her mouth became as big as Hanuman, suction began to pull the monkey towards it. Hanuman resisted the pull and expanded himself a bit. When Sarasa saw what Hanuman was trying to do, she also began to expand her mouth to beat Hanuman. Soon, Hanuman was 10 yojana in height. Sarasa expanded her mouth to become 20 yojana. Hanuman stretched more and became 30 yojana, while she turned 40 yojana. The tussle continued till Hanuman stopped at 80 and Sarasa at 100 yojana. In a flash, Hanuman shrunk himself to the size of a fly while her mouth remained 100 yojana wide. He dashed into her mouth and slid through her tongue. He glided all the way into her throat and entered her belly. On reaching her belly, he flew up and came out from her mouth again and assumed his regular size. Sarasa could feel something enter her mouth, reach her belly and exit. But, it all happened so fast that she hardly had any time to react. By the time she realized it was Hanuman who had tricked her, he had already made his exit. With folded hands, Hanuman stood in front of her and spoke in a heart-melting voice. "My dear mother, I have honored the words of Lord Brahma. I have entered your belly and come out. You shouldn't have any complaint against me now. Kindly bless me and permit me to proceed on my journey to find Mother Sita." Hanuman's intelligence brought great joy to Sarasa. She was, in fact, thrilled with the experience of interacting with Hanuman. Blessing him profusely, she disappeared happily. Once competition gets over, real growth takes place. A free Hanuman began to soar into the sky, yet again. This time, he hoped there would be no new obstacles. Time was running out and the pressure was mounting. Sarasa had wasted sufficient time in competing with him unnecessarily. Of course, he was happy he did not disrespect her. Blessings were important in any venture, especially in unpredictable missions of life, like the one he was on. Suddenly, something went wrong. Terribly wrong. Though his mind raced, his body had stalled. He wasn't able to move forward. He was suspended in thin air. This was strange. It felt as if someone had caught him, though no one was visible. Suddenly, he was being dragged downwards. A free fall ensued. He had no idea what was happening and who was controlling his movements. He was desperately looking around for the cause. Unless he knew what the cause was, what was he supposed to do? Observing the ocean water, he discovered something interesting. His own shadow. Someone was holding down his shadow. He could clearly see a huge hand encircling his shadow, pulling it downwards into the ocean. Instantly, it struck him there was some evil force that was directing his movements by controlling his shadow. He was aware of such powers but actually saw it in action for the first time. He was fast approaching the ocean surface. He knew that as soon as he would hit the surface, the shadow puller would do the needful. He didn't have much time to plan his next course of action. Without any warning, the calm surface of the water split and a huge monster emerged with her mouth wide open. With her entry, a thunderous voice from the sky proclaimed, "Simika." Hanuman recognized the name immediately. She was the demoness Sugriva had warned him about. She was the greatest fear for anyone who tried reaching Lanka. Ravana had purposefully kept her hungry, so she wouldn't spare anyone trying to gain access to Lanka. Her wide mouth was filled with countless razor-sharp teeth. Instantly, Hanuman shrunk himself to the size of a fly and entered her mouth. Next, he extended both his hands and held them far out. As he slid into her throat, the 10 fingers of his hands, which had sharp nails, began to slice through her organs. He, systematically, entered every corner of her body and ripped apart all the essential organs. Initially, Simika was happy that Hanuman turned out to be such an easy prey. She began to focus on digesting him. Suddenly, she started feeling intense pain in different parts of her body. She realized something was wrong inside her. She was in agony now. Hanuman completed his job in a few minutes and decided to make his exit plan. Tearing open her stomach, he rushed out. As soon as he flew out of her body, Simika collapsed with blood pouring out from her mouth and her ruptured stomach. As Hanuman hovered above, looking at Simika sink into the ocean bed, hundreds of sharks attacked her body, devouring her flesh. The ocean turned red in no time. After overcoming the last obstacle, Hanuman valiantly moved towards his destination. Lanka was now only minutes away. But Mother Sita still seemed hours away. The school of envy teaches you that others' failure is your success. The school of humility teaches you that envying others' success is your real failure. Chapter 4 will be coming soon.